Unmute your mic. You can't hear the music.
Thank you for allowing me to be here. I would like to welcome you all to our virtual literacy event. Good morning, everyone.
I'm Michelle Hardy, the Giving Guru.
Greetings to all the students.
Thank you for having me. I am so delighted to be with you all today to share my love of fitness.
Hi, Dr. Houston. Thank you so much.
Hi, Tori.
Hi, Dr. Houston.
So different. But I stayed brave and I showed kindness to all, even when they weren't kind to me.
And they always come equipped with a smile and grace for when you enter the place.
He hugged Anna and he started to cry. 2 tears burst from his eyes and
Ask your parents for choices. Or parents provide choices for you.
Means so much to me and my daughter Bria, and probably also for other parents like children of like Hannah.
Tammy, wasn't this a great event?
Oh, it was incredible.
Whitaker and Tammy on the collaborative. Let's go!
The collaborative.
1, 2, 1, 2.
The collaborative.
What's that time?
On Facebook Tuesday at 7.
The collaborative. Who we have now?
We have our leaders. We have our teachers and our parents. We have our authors. Story time at the end. Solving problems in our education system. Phenomenal women.
Join them on Facebook.
On Facebook Tuesday at 7. The collaborative.
It's that time. You're Whitaker and Tammy.
The collaborative.
Phenomenal ladies. It's educational.
The
on the Facebook. The collaborative.
collaborative.
Hi, Tammy.
And hey, Shika. Welcome, everybody, to this week's edition of The Collaborative. Thank you guys for joining us. How are you today?
Doing well. How was your day?
It was busy, eventful. How about you guys?
Well, it was the last day of school. It was the 8th grade final walk. So it was a lot going on, even though it was a half day. So the final walk was the final walk for me too. So it was an emotional day, but we got through it and the kids enjoyed it. The parents enjoyed it. So it's been a long year. You know, we're in school a month later than we normally are. So everyone's ready to get some rest.
Yes, for sure.
So thank you all that are joining us in Facebook land. If you all would put in the comments, let us know if you are an educator, a parent, a community member, or an author, where you're tuning in from. We always like for this message to spread high and wide. So share the feed to your page, invite others. The goal of the collaborative is to bring educators, parents, and community members together to solve problems in education, because we are definitely better together.
Yes, we are.
We always end with story time because we are the literacy leaders, and that literacy piece is so important in making sure that our students are reading 20 minutes per day. And my daughter always thinks that the summer means no schoolwork, no reading, no anything, but I always kill her dreams. Yes, ma'am, we are going to sharpen the saw a little bit, even during the summer. So who do we have with us today, Tammy?
So super excited. We have Coach Carlos. We've got Carlos Johnson in the house.
Hey.
Welcome. Thank you for joining us, Coach Carlos.
No, thank you all for inviting me. I'm glad to be here. And hopefully I can bring some comfort to your last days. This has been a crazy year for the two of you all being in the building.
It has. I think that's probably an understatement.
Yeah.
Yes. So let me introduce Coach Carlos to everyone. Coach Carlos Johnson is consultant, author, and leader. Mr. Johnson, better known as Coach Carlos, is a professional speaker, trainer, and author. Coach Carlos and his team of consultants have utilized his experience in researching school culture to successfully turn around 3 failing public schools and 1 private Christian academy. His trainings and strategies have helped to change school culture, increase parental engagement, student enrollment, and student retention. His image, and that's an acronym that he'll talk with us about, Culture Transformation System, is an online on-site system that trains thousands of parents, students, and instructional teams each year on the psychology and practice of engagement. In 2015, Mr. Johnson stepped into the principalship position to lead the Male Leadership Academy. During his tenure, he doubled school enrollment, increased staff pay, transformed school culture, and increased student performance school-wide. In response to the National School to Prison Pipeline Crisis for Young Men, he created the online Tier 2 PBIS Behavior and Leadership course for boys called Future Man Success Prep. Coach Carlos's purpose to transform institutions and individuals is obvious. And when he speaks or trains, his passion is infectious. So we are so elated to have you with us, Coach Carlos.
Thank you. And I wrote all that myself, so it should be true.
Yes, thank you for joining us. And just shout out to our Facebook friends that are joining us. Miss Diana Klingman from Flint, Michigan.
Flint in the house.
Pastor and author C.T. Kirk is with us. Dr. Rods is with us. Thank you all for joining us. And we are an education show, so we always focus on our this day in history. So I am going to share my screen so you can see this image. There's a young lady that has been trending in the media, but on this day in history, 23rd, track runner Wilma Gloden Rudolph was born in Clarksville, Tennessee. She became the first African-American woman to win 3 gold medals at the Olympic Games in 1956 and 1960. So with that being said, people like Miss Rudolph have paved the way for this young lady, Sha'Carri Richardson, who has been trending in the media because she's getting a lot of criticism from people, although she's been very successful in her races because she doesn't fit a certain look or a certain profile. So I just wanted to shout her out and provide her with some encouragement because she's doing a phenomenal job. And just because someone doesn't look like you would expect them to look or your image of what you think should be happening, we should not be discouraging this young lady. We should be doing nothing but lifting her up and motivating her. So
yeah, that's good.
Encouragement.
Definitely wanted to shout her out. So, Coach,
that's good.
Thank you again for joining us, and tell us what you're reading.
Oh, wow. I've got a couple books that I'm reading. One is, I'm right behind me is my library, so it's easy to grab them. One is just strengthens my faith, and it's called, I don't know if you guys can see it, it's called Being Anxious for Nothing. And in these times where there's so much uncertainty, I needed something to calm my spirits, something that would keep me in my happy place. So Being Anxious for Nothing is what I'm reading there to strengthen my faith. I'm also, I do a lot of work with youth in the summer. And one of the constant themes when working with young men is that there's this perception of laziness or that they're not motivated. So there's Dr. Mel Levine. If anybody's looking for a great psychiatrist, psychologist, Dr. Mel Levine has a series out, and this book right here is called The Myth of Laziness. And he's done some great work in helping parents, educators, community activists understand and identify the difference between young people who are being inspired versus those who are lazy. So it's a great that both of those two help me in my faith walk, but also in my professional walk.
That's awesome. We'll have to put those in the comments as well. Some people may want to pick those up. And we just want to give a shout out. A lot of times we receive books in the mail. So we're reviewing this book, Small Voices Heard, by Miss Orjanette Bryant and Dana Cooper. And this is a parental guide. And the mission of Small Voices Heard is to help enhance communication between parents and children for goal setting and enrichment planning. So it was actually, the book was contributed to by some children that were a part of the book that they brought their voices in. So it's a good read. We'll put that information in the comments as well. Good guide for parents to use.
Yeah, good work.
And we know that you travel. Thank you. Travel a lot to schools, and you probably traveled more before the pandemic.
Yeah.
But with your work as a consultant, what do you prefer? And this is our Would You Rather segment because this helps us to engage. People get to know you, and we know that's one of your specials too, engagement. So would you rather work with educators in person or virtually?
Wow. Wow. Now, I will say I am a proponent of engagement. I understand the psychology behind it. So I would much rather prefer to be in the house. We're human beings, so there's something about being in proximity of one another. Mm-hmm. There's language that's transferred, not just verbally, but there's body language. There's an odor that's transferred. I mean, good and bad. It's just all of that kind of makes the experience, unique. So I prefer to be in the house. I get a chance to understand the culture and climate a lot better, and that's something we'll, maybe touch upon. But so I prefer that. However, as my grandmother would say, "Hasa never." This was okay for me. Mm-hmm. I really needed the break. I fly a lot. I travel a lot. So a little while ago, you had one of my mentors on with you with Principal Kafele. Mm-hmm. And I see him at a lot of conferences, and we have some of the same experiences. But this little season wasn't bad. It was okay. Now, would I want another year of this? Nope. No, I want to get out and be amongst the people. I love children. I love teachers. I love leaders. So that would be my response to that question.
All right. And so when you are at in-person events, do you prefer to drive or fly?
Both. I'll fly there, but I want my own car once I land. I don't need anybody picking me up at the airport. I want my own car because I want to get out amongst the people. One of my traditions, wherever I go, not wherever, because now I've been a lot of places, but when I go to unique places, I want to go to the stores. I want to get the newspaper. I want to read what's happening locally. Mm-hmm. So I want to walk amongst people. I want to see what's going on, because when I talk to instructional teams and they're telling me about the students and the families that they're working with, I want to be able to say, yeah, I was on Crenshaw. I was on Upton Avenue. I was there. And, I kind of understand what you're going through a little bit, but at least be familiar with it.
Right. And that pretty much answers the next one. For in-person events, do you get out and see the city, or are you in and out? So you're getting around to see the city.
Yeah, and don't let it be a place where I can play some golf, because I'm gonna play some golf out there too.
All right. Well, that's awesome, Coach Carlos. Thank you again for being with us.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you all for having me.
Yes, we're super excited to engage in the conversation with you surrounding the power of culture and climate. And we know, Coach Carlos, that culture and climate are defined in lots of different ways. Yeah. And some people find those to be synonymous, while others define them very distinctly. Yeah. Would you define and tell us why culture and climate are so important in school?
Yeah. Very, very good. Thanks for asking that. It's, it's super important. And it's the best way for me to define it is to give an example. So, climate is almost like the thermometer, if you will, of a building. Tells you the temperature of the building. But culture is the thermostat. It's what controls that temperature. Let's bring it even home even more. If you guys go shopping, if you go to a theater, if you go to a restaurant, when I travel, as I mentioned, I go to different golf courses. I like nice golf courses. Call me a golf snob, whatever you want to call me. But I like pulling my car up to the golf club, to the golf course. Someone coming to the back of my car, grabbing my clubs out, putting it on the cart, driving the car around to the front, me walking into this old mahogany golf, the clubhouse, and then someone saying, Mr. Johnson, will you be staying with us long? I like that feel. And I like that when I get there, that's the climate of the place. Mm-hmm. I'm sure you guys and those who are listening to us, they have their favorite restaurants. There's just something about when you walk into that restaurant, they just greet you nice. Look at what Chick-fil-A has done with climate and culture.
That's true.
I mean, they have rocked the world with climate and culture. When you walk in there, you know that that's not McDonald's. You know right away. And so the best way I can explain that is that climate is what you feel when you walk into the building, when you walk down the halls, when you walk into the teacher's classroom, when you get into the office. And I do a lot of training on training office staff because that's important. Culture, on the other hand, is dictated by your policies, your procedures, your practices, the people in the building, what they do when nobody else is looking, what they're talking about in the break room, how they engage with parents, what culture has been set, the values, the traditions. That's the culture of the building.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. We love talking about that ambience that you were talking about because to be what people feel when they come into your building.
And I do cultural assessments. And when I walk into the building, I almost know the data I'm going to find because the climate has already set the tone. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you're surprised, but a high-performing school climate feels totally different than a low-performing school. Now, the chicken or the egg thing, we can have that conversation, but
yes, sir. It's interesting that you go there. Would you just go on while you're talking about it and kind of give us your philosophy on helping schools transform their culture and climate? Because you want to have that climate and culture that will yield that strong student academic and social, emotional, all that works with this.
Yeah. Well, I had the pleasure to go on a 3-year tour of schools. I mean, just really doing culture assessments and really researching what makes them tick. And this was K-12, traditional public charter, and private schools. 3 years just traveling, doing that type of work. And I'll never forget this data that I came across as we were doing the research. And I hope that I can, that you guys can follow me and I can give this out appropriately. Currently, there are 98,000 schools, somewhere around there, K-12. Now, that number, of course, changes here and there because schools close, new schools open. 34% of those schools are high poverty. That's about, we do the quick math, that's about 33,000 schools. So 98,000 schools total. 34% of them are high poverty. 16% of that 33,000 is high poverty, high minority, and high performance. Okay. You guys with me? Mm-hmm. Now, here's the number that blew me away. 10% of those 5,200 schools, which were the 3,300 schools with a high minority, a high poverty, then high poverty, high performance. 10% of them were high poverty, high minority, high performance. So out of 5,200 schools in this nation, there are only 500 schools, only 500 currently, that are high poverty, high minority, high performance. Only 500 schools. So me and the team had to ask a question after we pulled our faces up off the floor, because those numbers, after you look at 98,000 schools, only 500 of them are high performing, high poverty, high minority. Mm-hmm. After you get over the fact that you're sad about that, then you ask yourself the question, how did those 500 schools do that? Mm-hmm. Because you could get lost in the big number of 5,200 schools who were failing. Right. But then you got to ask yourself, how did those 500 schools who are serving kids who look like me? I don't know about y'all two background. Y'all look like y'all came from the rich families. I didn't know from that. You know, I remember bologna sandwiches. You know?
Well, good thing we don't look like what we've been through, Coach.
Yeah. See, but I mean, those that's my community. Those are the schools that I serve. So I wanted to find out how they did it. So we spent some time looking at those schools. And let me tell you all, and I tell anybody who will listen to me, it's simple. It is the magic sauce is the way they did it was through engagement. They tackled the culture. So my philosophy was born out of that research.
Mm-hmm.
If you're serving that population, you have got to have an engagement culture. You got to have a culture of engagement. And out of that, I've been on a mission to help schools transform their culture into a culture of engagement.
That's phenomenal, the research that you've been a part of, Coach Carlos. And when you say engagement, for those the small percentage of the schools, what types of things were they doing to engage their families or the students? What were some things that would give some people some big bang for their buck? Sure.
I mentioned one of my mentors. Another one of my mentors is Dr. Anthony Muhammad. I've served with this brother now going on 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things, just one of the nuggets that I picked up from him was the distinction between the different types of strategies that transform culture.
Mm-hmm.
And he breaks it up where he talks about there's one segment of changing culture where you deal with uniforms, you deal with computers, you deal with the lighting of the building, you deal with the landscaping of the building, you deal with those types of things, the speed of the internet access.
Mm-hmm.
Those are all great and they must be done. Our students, our kids in the community that I'm from, they deserve high-speed internet access. They deserve the latest technology.
Absolutely.
But that's not engagement.
Mm-hmm.
It's important, but it's not engagement. So what he talks about is making the distinction between those things that are important, but don't necessarily have an effect on the human experience.
Mm-hmm.
So those are the things that I concentrate on. Those are the distinctions that I make. And in saying that, the strategies that I look at are three distinct ones. Mm-hmm. And one is probably, I won't say probably, is primary, first and foremost, and that is the mindset of the instructional team.
Mm-hmm.
Because at the end of the day, they are on the front lines delivering the instruction and building relationships.
Mm-hmm.
And if their mindsets are not in the right place, if you will, they won't deliver the programs or the tools that you guys as building leaders have given them with efficacy.
Mm-hmm.
They won't deliver it because their mindset is saying something else. And they've got a whole piece on that. And I won't take a lot of time there, but I will give you three mindsets. And what I call them is getting our butts out the way. And if our teams can't get their butts out the way, then we're in trouble. The first mindset that I've seen that's most prevalent is what I call the cognitive mindset. All teachers engage all kids. Don't get me wrong. For my instructional teams who are listening to this, I would never say, and I've never found teachers who don't engage. Teachers engage all kids. However, what we have found and what we have measured is that teachers don't engage all kids at the same level.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody gets engagement, but certain kids get different levels of engagement. And it's a certain level of engagement that turns that spark over. that engages kids into the lesson. And if you don't get to that level, did you engage them? Yes, you engaged them. But did you get to that level that turns on that spark of being interested in the lesson, being engaged in the lesson, wanting to come to school? Ma, I can't be late. Dad, I can't be late because I got to get to Dr. Houston's class. I got to get to Miss Tammy's class. I got to get, having a kid running to get out the class. Mm-hmm. So that cognitive mindset says, it's not my place because there are certain kids who will get this information and others won't. And I didn't have anything to do with it. It's genetic. It's environmental. This kid was born smarter than the other kid. There's still those of us in this industry who believe in that science, that flawed science, that some kids are just smarter than others. Therefore, why give all of the help to all children? Whole nother strategy, a whole nother lesson. So that's mindset number one. That's a but. Another but is the culture but. If the kids fit the culture of the building, if they fit the culture of my classroom, if they fit my personal culture, then I will engage them at a high level. Again, that teacher engages all students. But the student that conforms, that complies, or worse yet, assimilates. And there's a difference. That student that has to assimilate has to literally turn their back on their culture so that they can fit into the school or the teacher's culture. And that mindset prevents that teacher from engaging all students. But then lastly, there's a mindset that I love to run into, and that is a teacher that has the mindset of a coach. That has the mindset of a coach that goes beyond content. They know their content. Mm-hmm. They're highly qualified. They're certified. They got the content down, but they go beyond content, and they've learned how to connect with kids. And you all know the teachers I'm talking about right now. I bet you can picture them. You can picture them in your eye, right? You got teachers who just for whatever reason, they know how to connect with kids.
Mm-hmm. Some of them are on here commenting right now.
I mean, they just connect. Now, that is a skill that some teachers walk into the building with, but it also can be institutionalized. Mm-hmm. And that's what I help schools do, is institutionalize that engagement culture, because those teachers, if you don't nurture them quickly, the rest of the teachers will turn on them because the kids love them. Mm-hmm. I love going to their class. They hug on them, they mama, they daddy, they big sister, and the other teachers can't figure out why he don't do nothing in my class while all of a sudden you nice to him.
And I'm laughing because I've heard those stories before, those comments. You're right.
Yeah. I mean, it's for some teachers, it's just they have that gene. They get it. And that's okay. But teachers who don't, and they're more cognitive, more strategic, they just have to be in a culture that provides engagement throughout the building. So they don't have to lean in on what they don't necessarily have. They just have to be a part and support the culture and the policies. That's all.
Right. And sometimes as educators, we tend to, we carry bias with us if we're really being honest. And sometimes we gravitate towards those children who were like us in school, or, the ones that we feel like are doing those things that we think they're supposed to do. So you have to be very cognizant and intentional about what you're doing.
That's right.
Number one, measure it.
Yeah.
And number two, once you get some information about whether or not they're engaged, do something about it.
That's right. That's right. Oh, because in my day, it was all them little light-skinned, pretty kids. No, I'm just kidding. They had everybody loved the light-skinned, pretty kids. And I'm not knocking, I'm just joking. But we have certain affinities towards people. It's just, your dad plays basketball, so does mine. So they had that conversation, that connection, or they golf and they had that conversation, whatever that connection is. Mm-hmm. that fits that teacher's culture and they feel comfortable engaging.
Right.
So, but if there's no connection culturally or socially, then their engagement level, it stays here. I'll tell you this quick funny story, and you guys probably know. If I'm not sure, I think Dr. Houston, you're a Southern gal, so you don't know nothing about snow. How about you, Miss Taylor? Where are you from originally?
Chester, South Carolina.
Now, I'm the one. Look at you with your bias, Coach Carlos. I was born in Cleveland, Ohio.
Oh, there you go.
All about the snow.
Oh, there you go. So you know what I'm about to talk about this.
Yeah.
You must have picked up that Southern hospitality thing since you've been down here. There. All right. So born and raised in Detroit. That's why when the young lady was from Flint, I was like, Flint in the house. But I'm born and raised in Detroit, so I remember the cold winters and getting up, having to go out to my car and turn on the car and praying that, okay, this thing gonna turn over because it got cold over the night. I remember this one time where, the car wouldn't start, but my radio worked, the lights worked, everything was cool. I'm like, why won't this car start? Called AAA, came by, the guy finally told me, look, man, the car is cool. It was just your battery. So I said, hey, but the lights worked and the radio came on. He said, yeah, you had enough juice in the battery to turn on those little low level functions. But Mr. Johnson, if you want the engine to turn over, you'll need some power.
Right.
Now, I'll tell you that story because that's what engagement is.
Mm-hmm.
We all engage. We got enough engagement to get kids just to come to school, pull the stuff out their backpacks, put their stuff on the desk. We got enough for that.
Mm-hmm.
But do you got enough juice to turn the motor over?
We need it.
Yes, we need those motors to turn over.
Yeah.
We got to keep them engaged.
Yeah, that's what engaged. That's why I said I could give you a definition of engagement, but that's what we need. We need enough engagement that reaches the level where kids' brains turn over and they're like, oh yeah, I can't wait to get in that class. I can't wait to get in school. I can't wait to get in that class. I can't wait to pass to the next one. And so my first strategy, and I'm sorry for taking a long way around to that first one, but my first strategy is most important because mindset is the horse that pulls the carriage for everything else.
It does.
And when our teams have the right mindset, then we can do the rest. So my other two strategies for that, the next one is the engagement of parents.
Mm-hmm.
I feel so much for our instructional teams because they're carrying a heavy load when families aren't involved. I feel a lot for you leaders in the building when parents aren't partners and aren't doing their part. So strategy number 2, after the mindsets are right, is having a system where families are engaged academically. You don't have to like me. We don't have to be best friends. We don't have to go out, but I need you to be on the same page with me academically so that your child can not only compete in this building, but that can compete in this world. So helping schools get their parents engaged in the process is my second strategy. And we've proven that we can do that. And then lastly, the last strategy, and this is one that's near and dear to my heart, are getting mindsets important, yes. Engaging parents important, yes. But one that's near and dear to my heart, not only because I'm a male, but because the data dictates that we do so. And that is having a system that deals with the behavior positively of boys. Mm-hmm. We got to get boys back engaged in the learning process, embracing learning. So my third strategy is getting the boys in your building to be leaders in such a way that they have a positive impact and not a toxic one in the classroom.
All of that is awesome, Coach Carlos. And definitely during this time of the pandemic, we have had some engagement struggles, things changing with the platforms, students checking out, tired of being on certain platforms, not used to the new things that were going on, and just totally checking out. So that engagement piece is really critical right now for all educators. So we know that you offer great strategies and help. So if people would like to get in touch with you about the work that you do with schools and educators with engagement, make sure you put that in the comments or the chat, and we'll put it in the feed for you, because we want people to be able to get the help that they need in the area of engagement, because we know just from this year how much of a struggle it was for that training to take place with schools and leaders and educators.
No, you're exactly right. It's been a tough time, and my heart goes out to teachers who had to transition from being in the classroom with their babies to seeing them through a computer every single day, and that was tough. That was tough. My heart goes out to them. But there's my suspicion is that there's a new model that's going to be born out of this COVID era, and learning online, I don't believe is going away. Maybe not 5 days a week, but there's going to be a lot of schools who are going to stay with that hybrid model for a lot of different reasons.
Oh, I agree with you. Our district definitely is keeping the model open as an option, and we know, who knows, when they talk about a new variant that is out there for COVID-19, where we'll be at what time, and we can't stop educating our children. So we've got to be able to engage whether we are in person or online. So we've got to be ready, because that has to continue for our children.
For sure.
So thank you so much for being with us. Definitely put that information out there about how people can get in touch with you and how they can contact you. And if you want to put it in the chat, we'll get it out there for you. But we know that what you offer is of quality, and you're definitely an engagement specialist yourself when you're working with staffs and educators. So thank you for what you do.
And
thank you all for having me.
Yes, sir. And we really want to just thank you for emphasizing mindsets really do matter.
They do.
So thank you.
Yes. Thank you all, ladies. You all have a blessed day now.
You too. Thank you, Coach Carlos.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right. It is story time. Ms. D.M. Whitaker is with us. Thank you for joining us. I'm going to read your bio. D.M. Whitaker is an author and speaker and has always been a lover of books since a child. Inspired by being a mother and an educator, D.M. loves to write children's books and rhymes that will sketch beautiful memories in children's hearts. Her books help parents, educators, and child care providers teach children functional and social skills through stories that inspire them to be their very best every day in their homes, classrooms, and communities. So thank you for being with us. Ms. Whitaker, how are you?
I am doing awesome. Thank you, ladies, for having me. It was an awesome conversation that I was amening and clapping in the background.
We're excited that you're with us.
Definitely. And I know as a homeschool parent and teacher, you're probably having to make sure you're engaging your children as well.
Yes. It's so important. And as someone who used to work in a school as a reading teacher, and I've also been a truancy specialist, I work with a lot of kids who, didn't enjoy reading and didn't enjoy the whole aspect of the classroom because of the lack of relationship. So yes, it was an awesome conversation. And even with my own boys, I want to foster that love of reading and education early on, so they love to learn and that they're always exploring, whether it's traditionally or their non-traditional ways, just to keep them engaged.
Awesome. Well, please let everyone know what you're reading and the types of books that you offer. So, and also make sure you're putting in the comments how they can purchase your books, and we will put those links out there so they can get them. And we're going to turn it over to you for story time.
Awesome. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. So as they said, I am an author who focuses on social and functional skill books. My books help kids to be their best. And the one that I'll be reading today is a part of my functional skills books that I write. And it's called Brush Your Teeth, Brandon's Song for Healthy Teeth. And before we get started, I want to also talk about another book that I have coming out, which is another functional skill book. And it's a boy-girl book, and it talks about potty training. So these are those functional skills, the skills that help our children to be more independent and to be able to master skills that help them to be able to function outside of the home, whether they're in their classroom or with their friends and things like that. And then I have a series that I wrote with my amazing son, who is 4. He hates taking naps, so he creates these elaborate stories, and they're so good that he and I have written 3 books and they're called The Scary Dinosaur and The Stinky Skunk. And they're each are fables that teach social skills. We have skills about accepting differences and making new friends, apologizing, and sharing with others. So all of these books teach those social skills that help kids to be able to interact with their peers and with the community and even with their family, again, helping them be their best selves. So I'm excited to share my first book that was inspired by my son. He loved to brush his teeth at 1. And my friends are like, how is that even possible that a 1-year-old loves to brush their teeth? And it was simple for me. I had created this fun song that he loved to sing while he brushes his teeth. And he still sings it today at 4. And he's taught it to my 1.5-year-old son. And he sings it throughout the day. And it really has fostered a love for dental hygiene for them, which is so important in many communities, but especially in the African-American community, making sure that we take care of our teeth, because that's our smile and that's where our confidence comes from. So let's go ahead and get started. Brush your teeth, Brandon's Song for Healthy Teeth. Good morning, Brandon. It's time to brush your teeth, Mommy and Daddy say. Brush your teeth, 1, 2, 3. Brush your teeth, ABC. Brush your teeth, top and bottom, ABC. Brush your teeth, 1, 2, 3. Top and bottom, side to side, brush them right. Top and bottom, side to side, brush them right. Top and bottom, side to side, brush your teeth day and night. Brush your teeth, 1, 2, 3. All done, Brandon says. Great job brushing, Brandon, Mommy says. Oh, what a day. We played with friends, read books, and colored. We ate great treats and had a big supper, Daddy says. Now it's time to brush your teeth and go to sleep. Brush your teeth, Brandon says. Brush your teeth, 1, 2, 3. Brush your teeth, ABC. Brush your teeth, top and bottom, ABC. Brush your teeth, 1, 2, 3. Top and bottom, side to side, brush them right. Top and bottom, side to side, brush them right. Top and bottom, side to side, brush your teeth day and night. Brush your teeth, brush your teeth. 1, 2, 3. All done, Brandon says. Great job brushing your teeth, big boy, Daddy says. Good night, Brandon, Mommy and Daddy says. The end.
Thank you.
Yes. Enjoy.
That was
Thank you so much, ladies.
You're welcome.
Yes.
And anytime there's music involved, that definitely is something that engages children. We just had a conversation about engagement. So that is great that that component is a part of it as well.
Yes, yes, yes. And I have people who purchase the books and they're like, oh, I butchered that song. And I'm like, that's okay. I'll put my website in the link and it plays it on repeat. So you can just play it and have them brush away.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yes, yes, yes.
Something I can use with my daughters because that's something you still have to reinforce even after they get older.
Yes.
Thank you again for being with us. We appreciate you reading and sharing.
Thank you again, ladies. Thank you, everyone.
You. And be sure to put that contact information in the either in the chat or the comments.
Will do.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Well, Tammy, those of you that are joining in with us next week, we will be talking about our summer reading. So we'll have some great guests on next week that will talk about things that you can reinforce with reading with your students over the summer, as well as math. Lots of great strategies that they have, as well as some resources. Some of them have literacy boxes that are culturally relevant. So there will definitely be some things that will continue to keep your children engaged, even over the summer. And most of us might have a little shorter summer than normal. We still want to make sure that students and children are sharpening the saws. We know that if they're like my daughter, they want to sleep in and swim every day, and that is not part of the entire day. We still got to get some learning going in there. So they'll still be getting up early, even though they don't want to. So please make sure you join us next Tuesday. Will be our last episode for this part of the year. We're going to take a little summer break and get some self-care going and preparing for our relaunch after the school year and our 1-year anniversary. So we appreciate you all joining us, and we will see you guys next week on the Collaborative. Thank you.
Bye, guys. Y'all have a good night.
Join Sheikah and Tammy on the Collaborative. Let's go!
The Collaborative.
1, 2, 1, 2.
The Collaborative.
What's that time?
On Facebook, Tuesday at 7.